In our last video, we're going to look at this process of getting our goals linked into the initiative and also making resource allocation requests that are linked to your goals. And I'll show you how we can link our outcomes that are associated with the program to these goals and how we can generate a budget within the eLumen software that we'll be able to use for our resource allocation process. So we're back into our natural science program review. And again, this is under the strategic planning tab and then the initiative tab. I made sure to verify that I am the area coordinator and I am in the natural science program review. And this is where we have to be careful when we flip back and forth between our active mode and our design mode. So right now we're in the design mode, and we will have access to certain things associated with this tool where we went in there and we're able to make those modifications. And what we'll do is we'll go down to our planning summary section here, and you can see this has an extra thing besides the flag. This section is going to allow us to not only insert our goals in here, but also we will be able to make our resource allocation requests. And the other sections right now, if you look at this, aren't turned on for the second part of that. You can link your goals and objectives, but you won't be able to make the resource allocation requests as far as I know. So I'll go in and just show you again this process. We don't have any goals linked here, so I'm going to come in and just pull some of the goals for our natural science program and drop them in here and save them. And this is the part that is a little bit frustrating because we do have these things in here, but we can't actively use them until we go in and go back up to the top and switch over from our design mode where we were designing the goals, and we'll go in now to the active mode. So again, you have to make sure that you're in the right mode here, and when you're in the active mode, you are actively able to play around with what's going on in the document itself. And again, you can check some of these features right here and see the Manage SI collaborators. That's a design, that's the back end. When we're in the active mode, we lose that. And so we'll come down to the different sections that are available. And again, you can use that menu that floats around on top there. And I'll go into my planning goals or your resource allocation. At this point, it doesn't matter which one we go into, but I've put those planning goals into that particular section right there. And you can see there's a couple of different things. We can come in here and again click on the met and not met. But there is this extra little button over here. It's called Align Action. And when you look at this, if you already have an existing action in there, you will pull up some things associated with it. And there you can see our goals that we have right here that are associated with the different sections. But since this is a new goal, I'm going to create an action. So here, you could put faculty will survey classrooms. Say that's an action for a goal that's out there. And you can choose your action type. So is this going to require people to sit down and think about what's going on? Is there some more study needed? So this thing would probably be a study needed kind of thing. Do we need new resources? That's the key for what we're doing here in this process, is we need some resources that are associated with our goals for this program right here. And we can click on this link SLOs and pull in the SLOs. And the natural science doesn't have the course ones, but most everybody else out there is going to have a list associated with their course outcomes that are out there. So let's see. Here we have program outcomes for this. So if you wanted to, you can move your program outcomes and say, for this particular action that is out there, it's linked to these two health sciences program outcomes. And now those are linked in there. And if you require a resource request, we can open up this menu down here on the bottom, just to show you again. It opens up this extra section right there. And so now you can include your resource name there. And so now say money for new projectors in the classrooms. You can go in and choose from this list that we have here, and this list is fully customizable, so I expect some of these choices to change in the future as we figure out some of the additional needs that are related to our resource allocation process. So here you could figure out what kind of resource request that would fit for this. So maybe you could put supplies or one of the other equipment choices there. And you can put in your amount for this. So I don't know, we'll say $25,000 there. And then click on Add New Action. And you can see now the recommended actions that are associated with this goal right there. Faculty will survey the classrooms, and you can see there's 2 outcomes that are linked to this, and we've got 1 resource request. And if you want to come in there, you can create new actions that are associated with that particular goal and link the appropriate outcomes that are available for that program. So I'm going to click on Save for this thing. And if you look at this, you can see the change that occurred right here. We started out with a couple goals that I put in there because it started out with 0, 0 for this particular button for my linked goals and objectives. And now I've got 3 goals and objectives that are linked there, and I've got a resource allocation request. And the beauty of this system here is if we go all the way back up here to the top, and you click on this button that you would never think to click on where it says Management, we've got a budget management, and there is the request that I just made for this. The budget category isn't carrying over here, but the nice thing is the approve and reject button over here in the pending. We'll be able to take our resource allocation requests, and once they go through the master planning committees and to cabinet and we figure out the budget for the year, that information will come back and we'll be able to indicate on the program reviews here whether or not your fund was approved or your resource allocation request was approved, or if it was rejected, or if it's still hanging out there. And so again, just to show you, we'll go back down to the program goals here. And the original one, I made that request in that little section right there. I can make another one associated with that one. And again, we can put our new resource requests items there. So there you can see I've got a second thing that doesn't necessarily require a resource request available for that. If you click down here on this button, it's going to pull up that same kind of thing, so you can make modifications to your actions that are out there. You can also go in and pick various different kinds of goals from this list here where I'm using an existing action and making some modifications to it. So I'm going to go down to this one and just show you, we'll call this one a second step associated with the goal. Add a resource request on here. We need a new copier. Obviously, your request should include some extra information here for the resources. You can put some more information about your justification and add that new item there. So now when I look at my budget on top, I've got this extra one listed right there. And if I want to and say this is even more higher priority, I'm going to move that one up to the top right there. And so we can actually prioritize our resource allocation requests within our program review documents for the future as long as we are in the active mode. You will be able to move these up and down, and in the future the plan is to figure out which of these sections is relevant to the goals that are out there. So we'll be able to open up some of these extra sections. This first year we only have this section that is way down here under your planning summary. These are the only sections that are flagged to allow the resource allocation request to be made there. So you want to make sure that you're in this in the active mode for your resource allocation requests. And then if you don't see that budget tool on the top here, you will know that you're in the design mode, and that's where you're going in and adding or taking away your goals from the list. So there I've just deleted all of the goals that were associated with the program mission and access. So I expect these settings to change over the future as we take this eLumen Connect software and start to tailor it for our own uses. And again, if you do have issues or problems, please don't hesitate to write me an email, and I will try and address those questions as soon as I can. Thank you for listening and getting through all of the videos for updating our program reviews this year.